It all began in the waterways of Agbarauto, Delta State, a place where fish was life, trade was survival, and hope was fragile. But for young Michael Ibru, the son of a fish trader, those mornings weren't just routine. They were the foundation of a vision that would one day shake the very core of Nigeria's economy. This is the story of how a young man who was mocked for selling what many called mortuary fish defied ridicule and built a family empire that spread into almost every corner of national life. From seafood and agriculture to banking, oil and gas, shipping, transportation, aviation, hospitality, media, real estate, and even politics. It is a story of risk, resilience, and relentless ambition. This is the Ibru story. Michael Onajebe Ibru was born on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1930, into a family that valued faith, hard work, and service. He was the first of 7 children of the late Pa Peter Ekpete Ibru, a mission worker and nursing superintendent at the Igbobi Orthopedic Hospital, and his wife, the late Madam Janet Omotogo Ibru, a fish trader. From the beginning, Michael stood out. He attended the famous Igbobi College, Lagos, between 1948 and 1951, during which he distinguished himself in his studies and extracurricular activities. A child prodigy with extraordinary leadership qualities, Ibru was admitted into second year in college straight from elementary school and passed his Cambridge School Certificate examination with distinction in 4th year of the 6-year program. But being the eldest son of a struggling family came with its own burden. Every exam passed wasn't just a personal win. It was proof to his siblings and to his parents that poverty didn't have to be destiny. And young Michael carried that weight quietly but fiercely. Following the same rare path that is meant only for exceptional people, Michael Ibru, after leaving Igbobi College, secured a job in the United Africa Company, now UACN, as a manager in training. There again, Michael set pace for his peers. Between 1951 and 1956, when he worked with the United Africa Company, a trading consortium that once bore the name of Royal Niger Company, Ibru had an intense internship that effectively prepared him for the bigger world of entrepreneurship. UAC was one of the largest trading companies in Nigeria, handling everything from produce to consumer goods. Working there felt like a dream come true for Michael at the initial stage, but after a while, it felt like a cage. He wanted more. Hence, in 1956, at just 25 years old, Michael did the unthinkable. He resigned from UAC. Family and friends thought he had lost his mind by walking away from stability into uncertainty. But it was that single decision that would go on to change the destiny of his family. He partnered and co-founded Libru with Englishman Jimmy Large, whom he worked with at UACN. The company's name combined their surnames, Large and Ibru. A year later, he ventured out on his own and birthed what would become the Ibru organization. His first foray into the business world was to engage in general merchandise, import and export. But after 1 year in the business world, he took stock and discovered that he had lost almost all his capital. But in return for this, he had gained experience, a greater fighting spirit, and friends who believed in him. He reappraised the whole situation and decided to concentrate his efforts in 2 areas. First, the items that were least popular among the merchants of the time, and second, the things given certain sociological or health benefits for the people. Olorogun, as he was fondly called, said in one of his very few interviews that it was while he was seeking solutions to the problem of child malnutrition that he stumbled on his fish business, and it ticked off his first criterion. With the average daily worker earning 4 shillings 8 pence per day, which was 50 US cents then, and fish, which was a source of cheap animal protein, being sold at the average price of the equivalent of 4 shillings, which was 42 US cents per pound at that time. It meant that the average daily worker could not afford a pound of wholesome protein for his family. The price of beef, on the other hand, was very high, and even relatively well-off people could only afford chicken a couple of times a week. Michael, determined to find a solution, began his search to discover what was the cheapest way to bring the fish to the people. At first, he examined canning, but that was no good because it was too expensive. Then he examined drying, both chemical and mechanical, and it all ended up too expensive. Finally, he settled for the ordinary freezing process. It was wholesome and cheap. They pegged the idea at about 8 American cents per pound, that is, no more than 20% of a worker's daily wage, but the pricing turned out to be the least of their problems. You see, the Nigerian society is a rather conservative one in many respects, and frozen fish is something that must be stored in cold stores. But the average Nigerian at that time associated cold stores with mortuaries, and by extension regarded frozen fish as fish coming out of the mortuaries. His trade faced a whole lot of criticism. Meat sellers whose business appeared to be threatened, and other critics referred to Ibrus fish as okweko, which literally means Lagos corpse, and equally rumored that it sucked human blood. He was seen as the mortuary fish seller. Michael and his team had to fight against the propaganda by embarking upon a mass education program. He waged a vigorous campaign that successfully persuaded the whole nation that frozen fish was good, establishing over 350 distribution depots throughout Nigeria. His detractors never stopped attacking him on every front for attempting to sell Lagos corpse, okweko, where many other similar businesses had failed. At some point, he was accused of smuggling weapons into Nigeria via his cold rooms, which was barely opened in transit. But Michael, after facing a hard time in his initial year in business, always saw the victory in his losses. As he pressed on, the business got better. Nigerians became more receptive of the Lagos corpse, and it gradually became very popular across the country. He equally met a Ghanaian businessman who was very interested in the fishing business, and they both set up the South Atlantic Fisheries. Indeed, in the early 50s, the Commonwealth Development Corporation had attempted to establish a fishing venture in the Nigerian waters, with cold storage facilities and a distribution operation through the West African Fisheries and Cold Store, but failed because fish stocks were reportedly insufficient off Port Harcourt and the boats were inappropriate, coupled with marketing and distribution challenges. Michael, Ibru, felt he could put extra effort communicating with general traders who played key roles in the acceptance of products. His early involvement with the Swiss and Liberian partners was unsuccessful. But determined to succeed in this business, Michael formed the Ibru Seafoods, an importing company solely owned by himself, which eventually held about 60% of Nigeria's emerging frozen fish market, raking in millions of dollars annually by the 1970s. He rented cold storage facilities at the Ijora Wharf in Lagos from the UAC, using the facility at night, and traded from the back of a Land Rover. He later went on to build his own cold storage facilities, and by the mid-1960s, fish trading had become the traditional moneymaker for the Ibru organization. Though he had other profitable interests such as transportation and construction, fish trading helped him secure financing and other forms of capital to engage in large-scale trading. In 1965, Michael Ibru started a large palm oil plantation, Aden Farm, in the Old Bender State, as well as a citrus and pineapple farm on a 800-hectare site, which for some time supplied the Lafia Cannery in Ibadan, Oyo State. He acquired the Michel Farm in 1973, and at the time the farm was the largest producer of day-old chicks and possessed poultry in West Africa. The company was acquired from the American owners, Eliza, who had established the farm in 1963. In 1969, a transportation company called Rutam was acquired as another major arm of Ibru organization, as it engaged in marketing and distribution of Mazda, Savian, Tata, and Jeep brands of automobiles. At the time, Rutam was appointed by the federal government as the major distributor of Peugeot brands of vehicles in the country. By 1974, Michael Ibru extended his business adventure with the acquisition of Nigerian Hardwoods, a logging and sawmilling and wood processing company in Ubiaruku, at a low price from the Latham Group, UK. The firm was originally established in 1919 and exported hardwood logs. The Ibru organization had grown into what many regarded as Nigeria's largest indigenous conglomerate. They were rivaling UAC, the British trading giant that once controlled Nigerian commerce. With over 10,000 employees and stakes in virtually every industry, the Ibrus weren't just participating in the economy, they were shaping it. In 1981, the Ibru organization's turnover was estimated at around $400 million. Beyond business, in 1983, Ibru tried to be governor of the old Bender state, but he lost to Chief Samuel Ogbomidia. Ibru also expanded into the following ventures: petroleum oil and storage with Ibafon Oil Limited, and banking with Oceanic Bank, which was managed by Michael's wife, Cecilia Ibru. Under her leadership, Oceanic grew into one of Nigeria's top banks, with branches nationwide and billions in assets. But the 2009 banking reforms brought by the central bank shook the entire sector. Oceanic was exposed. Cecilia was charged with financial misconduct, being accused of granting billions in insider loans without proper collateral. She was eventually tried and in 2010 sentenced to 6 months in prison, which was served in a hospital due to health issues. She was also ordered to forfeit over 190 billion naira in assets, properties, shares, cash, to the government, which was one of the largest forfeitures in Nigerian history. Oceanic Bank could not survive the crisis and was acquired by Ecobank Transnational Incorporated in 2011. The Ibru organization had an establishment in the aviation industry with Aero Contractors, which was originally a Dutch-owned aviation company operating in Nigeria since 1959. Under Ibru ownership, Aero expanded from a small charter service into a major domestic and regional airline. By the 1990s and 2000s, it was one of the two dominant carriers in Nigeria, the other being Nigerian Airways before its collapse. It was especially strong in the oil and gas sector, transporting workers offshore and providing helicopter services for multinationals. Aero faced huge debts for purchasing and maintaining its fleet, and by 2013, Aero was drowning in debt of over 30 billion naira. The government, through the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, took over Aero to prevent total collapse. By 2017, Aero suspended scheduled flight operations, focusing only on helicopter and charter services. The Ibrus lost operational control, and the airline was run by AMCON-appointed managers. On Aero ownership, AMCON now owns 60% of the shares, with the remaining 40% owned by Ibru family interests. At Michael Ibru's 80th birthday in 2011, his eldest son, Oscar, described the family as a team, like a bunch of broomsticks. Michael not only built his own fortune, but also lifted his brothers. Alex Ibru co-founded the Guardian newspaper in 1983 and later served as Minister of Internal Affairs. Goody Ibru became president of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and chairman of Ikeja Hotels PLC, while Felix Ibru, an architect, made history in 1992 as the first executive governor of Delta State. By 2014, Forbes named the Ibru organization one of Africa's top family businesses. For the first time in Nigeria's history, a single family had spread its influence across nearly every sector of national life. As a way of giving back, Michael Ibru started the Abraham College in Agbarauto, Delta State, in memory of his late father, who was a missionary worker and nursing superintendent at Igbobi Orthopedic Hospital in the colonial times. That college has metamorphosed to Ibru Center, which is today a great learning center of theology and ethical values. He was part of the foundation and success story of the present University of Benin, UNIBEN. He served in the Provisional Council of the university at inception in 1975. In 2015, he co-founded a private university with his wife, known as the Michael and Cecilia Ibru University in Agbara, Delta State. Every great work has its reward, and Michael's contribution to the well-being of humanity did not go unnoticed, as he has been honored both locally and internationally. In full recognition of his dedicated service to the cause of education, the former Midwest state government appointed Olorogun Michael Ibru, member of the Provisional Council of the University of Benin in 1975, and for his business enterprise beyond the shores of Nigeria. He was also appointed member of the Economic Cabinet Committee of the former Midwest state of Nigeria. This was aside from being a member of the African Development Bank President's Roundtable of Businessmen in Africa. Olorogun Ibru was also a member of the Business Advisory Council of the International Finance Corporation, IFC. His exploits in the field of business also afforded him the opportunity to serve as council member of the following bodies: Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Nigerian United States Business Council. His efforts at developing the economic landscape of Nigeria and stemming the tide of poverty did not go unnoticed, as he has a deluge of recognitions and awards for his enterprise. Among the awards are Officer of the Order of the Federal Republic (OFR) in 1981, Outstanding Businessman Award of the Nigerian American Chamber of Commerce and Industry 1983, Honorary Doctor of Law of the University of Benin 1978 and University of Ibadan 1978, Doctor of Agriculture Honoris Causa, University of Agriculture, Abeokuta 2004. In addition, Michael in 2003 won the Zik Prize in Leadership, and in 2005 he received the prestigious Dr. Kwame Nkrumah Excellence in Enterprise Award. On September 6, 2016, Michael Ibru passed away in the United States after a long battle with illness. He was 85 years old. His death marked the end of an era, but his vision and legacy continue to live on through his family and the vast business empire he built. Michael Ibru had 5 wives and 17 children, including Oscar Ibru, who heads the Ibru Port Complex, carrying forward the legacy his father began. From a creek in the Niger Delta to the heights of industry, the Ibru story shows us that with resilience and determination, no dream is too small to change a nation.